Iran's not on there yet.
Iran is not on there yet.
Right on. Good for us. But who would you, out of those nations, who would you be the most concerned about? Give me your top three.
North Korea.
North Korea.
North Korea. And that's how I begin the scenario. It's a launch from North Korea. One of the most interesting people I interviewed for this book, okay, this on the cover here is a thermonuclear bomb called Ivy Mike. This is the first thermonuclear bomb ever exploded in 1952 in the Marshall Islands. It was a test, okay? Hiroshima was 15 kilotons. This is 10.4 megatons.
Wow.
Okay? Think about that scale. This weapon takes an atomic bomb, acts as its triggering mechanism inside the bomb. Okay? I interviewed the man who drew the plans for this bomb.
No kidding.
93 now. Richard Garwin. Talk about classified. His information was so classified, no one knew he even drew the plans to the bomb. He was 24 years old when he drew them.
Are you serious? Does he regret drawing them?
I asked him that question. I said, do you wish that you hadn't drawn the plans for the thermonuclear bomb? And he said to me, after a long pause, I wish they couldn't have been drawn.
Wow.
I mean, we could do a whole podcast on what that might mean.
Yeah.
Right? Does it mean Russia would have drawn them anyways? Does it mean, right? But interviewing Garwin, who advised every president since then on nuclear weapons. You asked about why North Korea is like the most dangerous. Garwin, so sharp, we did all these Zooms during COVID. And he presented, when I asked him, what's the biggest threat? He said a madman, sort of mad king logic is what he called it. A madman with a nuclear arsenal. And he said this French term, which is called après moi le déluge. After me, the flood. Okay? Right? Which is like, if you have a mad king leader who doesn't care what happens, let it all flood. That's what Garwin told me he was most afraid of. And so that made me interpret that he was speaking about North Korea.
Wow. Because
North Korea does not play by the rules. I mean, it's very tricky. We could, rules of nuclear warfare, rules of nuclear testing. All nuclear armed nations inform their adversaries of their nuclear tests, like informally, formally, through, different ways, but not North Korea. They just launch. And when you learn what I have learned, and you can learn from reading this book, what happens inside nuclear command and control, inside those nuclear bunkers at the Pentagon, beneath STRATCOM, in Cheyenne Mountain. The first 150 seconds after a ballistic missile launches, when the satellite in space sees the launch, it sees the hot rocket exhaust from its incredible sensor, 1/10 of the way to the moon, sees it. For the next 150 seconds, U.S. nuclear command and control, all those assigned to the job, are trying to figure out where that ballistic missile is going. It's like...
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what I was going to ask. Are the satellites advanced enough to pick up on the trajectory and where it's headed, and how fast?
So in seconds, the data goes to the satellite, and then it's relayed to command centers in the United States. There's a facility called the Aerospace Data Facility in Colorado that was only its existence was only declassified in 2008, okay? And that facility then, and others, NSA, there's numerous intelligence agencies, military intelligence agencies that are then in processing that data. This is happening in seconds, and interpreting the trajectory of the missile launch. So I show a map in the book that Garwin and Professor Emeritus at MIT, Ted Postal, drew and then let me, render and put in the book that shows, so you can see a missile launching, it's a map, and then it shows the missile and it shows their concentric rings. It's like at 10 seconds, this is where it might be going. At 20, so Guam is in one direction, Moscow is in that direction, and then you realize if it's going in that direction, San Francisco, East Coast, Hawaii, okay? So as the seconds tick away, the data is determining where that is headed.
So this is almost like it's like when a hurricane's inbound, except a lot faster. It just narrows in, narrows in, narrows in, narrows in.
And by 150 seconds, Stratcom, or, the Peterson Air Force Base, the Space Force, the Aerospace Data Center, they know this ballistic missile is headed toward the United States. 150 seconds. Normally, what North Korea does is send the satellite. They're sending it up to space to drop a satellite, so that's one different trajectory. Or they launch into the Sea of Japan. So within seconds, the facilities know it's going into the Sea of Japan. Everybody can relax now. But in my scenario, at 150 seconds, boom, oh my God, it's coming to the East Coast of the United States. And that is when everything kicks off, because the next step is to inform the president. Now, there must be a secondary confirmation of that nuclear missile on its way to the United States before the president launches a counterattack. That secondary confirmation takes 8 and 9 minutes. These are like nerd things that I figured out in the book and present them to you, hopefully in this incredibly dramatic manner that you realize, oh my God, once a ballistic missile launch happens, nuclear war begins, because a ballistic missile cannot be redirected or recalled.
None of them. Not even our own.
None. And once President Reagan, the lack of information the president has about nuclear war is astonishing.
Really?
President Reagan, and by the way, they have presidential sole authority, so only the president can launch nuclear war. Only the president. He doesn't ask permission of anyone. Not his SecDef, not his chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, not the Congress, certainly not the Congress. This is all happening in 6 minutes. President's in charge. And most presidents, Leon Panetta confirmed this with me. He was the White House chief of staff under Clinton, right? And he said that many presidents just don't want to know. Because again, the paradox of nuclear war, deterrence will hold.
Don't want to know what?
They don't want to know about nuclear war.
That's frightening.
So Reagan mistakenly said during a press conference, and I think it was 1983, that our submarine-launched ballistic missiles can be recalled. They can't. He's the commander-in-chief.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know.
Do you think it's possible that we have technology to recall them, but they're not declassifying it?
It's impossible. Right? But I love the astonishment with which people express themselves when they learn these details, because it is astonishing. And I had that same experience, even knowing what I know. I know so many other things about nuclear weapons from different points of view, having written a number of books that deal with people who dealt with nuclear weapons. But I never knew the command and control ticking clock scenario, hypothetically in the future, until reporting this book. And I was shocked at everything I learned. Shocked at everything I learned. And it's such wait a minute, they really can't be redirected or recalled? Nope.
Wow. I did not know that. So you're saying within 6 minutes of something being launched towards us, we make a decision whether we're responding and sending one at them or not.
Yes. So think about it this way. when if it just takes approximately 30 minutes, the concept that has been put into play over decades of strategy of how to fight a nuclear war is that the president must make a counterattack decision before those nukes land. So this is all going to happen without the public ever having any idea, okay? The reason is because no one ever thought of having a nuclear war where there's like one nuclear missile. The rogue launch off of Garwin's worry is how my scenario starts. And then you see all these things go wrong.